What is proteomics and how does it help to understand cancer biology?
Proteomics is the study of the proteome as a whole. So at any given sample, you are not just extracting one protein and studying it, but more like you're just studying all the proteins you can in any given time with the best instrumentation you have, all of the proteins that are in that sample. And mostly nowadays the proteomics is done very quantitatively. So what you do in your studies are you measure changes in the proteome related to some kind of event. It could be cancer cells versus normal cells. It could be cells that have been perturbed by drug or something. So you can imagine that when you do this, you're going to now come up with some changes related to a specific perturbation or specific event. And if you are able to collect large number of large data sets, in other words, like to do this so many times or in so many patient samples, you can then start analyze this data using very different statistical means to come up with, let's say, things that are giving us your signatures for cancer versus normal, or things, when I say things, I mean proteins. Or I think what is proteomics moving forward to is like analysis of the post-translational modifications, which are all of the modifications that happen after the protein is formed. That can be phosphorylation, can be ubiquitination, can be acetylation, and proteomics is very well suited for measuring changes in these domains, and those are very, very important for cancer as well as other diseases. And these are things that proteomics allows us to kind of measure and eventually come up with signatures that tell you a lot about cancer, signaling pathways, and so on and so forth.
Why is it so important to study the proteins to understand cancer biology?
Well, proteins are, as I said, so they're basically the results of all of our genes and gene expression and everything, right? So all the things that happen in cells happen at the protein level or at the post-translational modification level eventually. So these are kind of like the last kind of step of that, and those are actually the building blocks or the blocks that really do the function of those genes. So therefore proteins are important to measure and in the cancer and all the other disease areas.
Can this research help not only understand cancer biology but also find drugs, medicines to treat it?
Sure, that's, I think, all where the field is moving towards more translational, more into clinic, more into finding mechanism of action of drugs. Maybe proteomics is not going to directly find drugs, but it's going to help understand how drugs function, which then opens like whole other area of research. Or, as I said, or find biomarkers that are more like diagnostics of can be used more in diagnostic and prognostic areas of just, for example, say that, okay, if this person has this kind of signature in their, let's say, phosphoproteome, or this kind of signature in their protein levels, that means that maybe drug X will work better versus drug Y. Something like that. So proteomics can help doing.